Hi there! In this video we will learn to make a magic ring and its alternative that's created from chain stitches only. We'll explore how to make both of them, understand their differences, and see why they're essential in plushie making. For instance, this Leo plushie that I have here uses the magic ring for starting every single piece of it, including the head. You can see both ears are started with the magic ring, as well as the arms and the legs, also the muzzle, and of course the tail. So now you know how important it is to make the magic ring properly. First, let's delve into the traditional magic ring. The first magic ring technique is without a hook, making it easier for beginners. Grab the yarn tail with your right hand and fold the working yarn over it with your left hand. Pinch where they intersect. Now pass the working yarn under this loop and pull it out from above, forming a new one. Twist this new loop to form a cross at the base. Now change the holding position by moving your fingers to grip the base of the loop. This makes it easier to pull the working yarn through. Pull the working yarn from bottom up through this loop and tighten the knot at the base by pulling on this working yarn. Now the magic ring is ready. Pull on the working yarn to adjust the loop size for the hook, and after that proceed to test the ring. Remove the yarn tail and pull it to see if the ring adjusts. Next, make sure that the ring is not too large and insert the yarn tail back inside the ring. This is important because once you start adding the single stitches into your ring, you will need to make sure they go over both of these strands. Alright, now let's check out another way of making a magic ring, this time using a hook. Firstly, form your right hand into a gun shape with your pointer and middle fingers extended, while your ring finger and pinky are folded. Place the yarn tail over the extended fingers, securing it with your thumb. Wrap the yarn around your pointer and middle fingers closer to the fingertips to create a full circle. Then cross the yarn over the first strand towards the right side and wrap it behind the pointer and middle fingers. Continue by sliding the yarn over your ring finger and then tucking it under your pinky. This technique ensures that the yarn is held tightly in place. Hold the crochet hook with its tip pointing downwards. Align it horizontally and parallel to your fingers. Insert the hook under the first strand of the yarn on your fingers. Catch the second strand of the yarn from top to bottom and drag the working yarn to the left, pulling it from under the first strand. Once the hook is out, point it downwards towards yourself and to the right. Grab the working yarn from underneath. Twist the hook's tip downwards to secure the yarn. Now pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. Gently slide the ring off your fingers, and your magic ring is now ready. Test it by removing the yarn tail and pulling it to check if the ring adjusts. If it functions as expected, you can start adding your stitches. Reinsert the yarn tail back into the ring and ensure that you're adding the single stitches over both of these strands. Before we begin adding stitches into the ring, I'll demonstrate one method of holding the yarn. Start with your palm facing up. Drape the yarn over your pinky and ring finger. Fold the pinky and ring finger to hold the yarn securely. Next, guide the magic ring behind and over the middle finger and pointer. Place the magic ring on your middle finger and pinch it with your thumb. Ensure the ring and working yarn are tight. It will make it easier to crochet into the ring. Insert your hook under both strands of the magic ring. Grab the working yarn from underneath and pull it through the ring. You should now have two loops on the hook. Make sure they are even in size. Now grab the working yarn again and twist the tip of the hook downwards to secure the yarn. Then pull this working yarn through both loops on the hook. Your first single stitch is now ready. Remember to always put the tip of the hook under both of the top strands of the ring. Now let's proceed with the second stitch. Insert the hook into the ring and grab the working yarn from underneath. This is also called yarn over. Pull the hook back out of the ring Now you should have 2 loops on your hook. Then grab the working yarn again and twist the tip of the hook downwards. Pull the working yarn through both loops on the hook. And that's your second single stitch done. Continue adding as many stitches as your pattern requires to start the plushie. Most patterns will start with 6 single stitches. Once you've completed all of these single stitches in the ring, pull on the hook to create a larger loop, then remove the hook. This prevents the last stitch from unraveling. Get the yarn tail out of the magic ring and gently pull on it to tighten the ring. But don't tighten it all the way. You can always return back to it and tighten it after round 2. Each of the stitches has a shape of a V. Here is the first stitch of the row, the second one, and the third one. Now let's try an alternative method for making a magic ring using chain stitches. Hold the yarn tail in one hand and fold the working yarn over it. Guide the working yarn through the created loop and tighten it to form a slip knot. Once the slip knot is ready, place the loop on the hook and tighten it by pulling on the working yarn. It is important that this loop is small. Now grab the working yarn from underneath and twist the hook to the side to secure it. Pull this yarn through the loop on the hook, creating the first chain stitch. Here you can see our first chain stitch has got a shape of a V and a large loop is emerging out of it. Now let's create the second one. Put the hook back inside the loop and tighten the loop by pulling on the working yarn. Check the size of the loop. It should be around the same size as the tip of the hook. Then yarn over and pull the working yarn through the loop on the hook. And that's our second chain stitch ready. For this technique, you only need 2 chain stitches. So what you're gonna do now is find the first chain stitch that you made. So it's one away from the hook. Insert your hook into this stitch. Then grab the working yarn from underneath and pull it out of that stitch. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. This is our first single stitch of round 1. Now let's proceed to make the second one. Put your hook into the same first chain stitch and continue by creating the stitch as usual. Make as many single stitches into the first chain stitch for round 1 as mentioned in the pattern. Now this is a magic ring completed using the chain stitch technique, so it's an alternative way of making a magic ring. And there is quite an obvious disadvantage to it, the hole that's left in the center of the piece. The smaller the first chain stitch, the smaller the hole in the center of your piece. And vice versa, the larger the first chain, the larger the hole. So here is our first stitch of round 1, second, third, fourth, fifth, and 6th.